Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. Today we're going to talk about your vision. Now, not exactly your vision when it comes to where your business direction, where you're going in your business, but your vision in terms of what you see through your eyes. We have Claudia Muehlenweg who is here, and she is a vision coach, and she is the founder and CEO of Holistic Vision. She's always hated her glasses, and she made it her mission to help others to see clearly, naturally, just as she has done. She got rid of her glasses, and she can help you do that as well. And so she is just an amazing woman. I've actually known Claudia for, I guess, about over a year now. And she really walks her talk. And so I'm excited to have her here. Claudia, welcome to Leaders of Transformation.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited that you're going to share because the statistics that I've heard and hearing, when you shared about what you do and the statistics of children that are requiring glasses younger and all of this, and just even realizing how many people have poor eyesight. We look at the screen all day for many of us. If we don't have our eyes, it's such an important thing. It's a thing that we take for granted until we don't have it anymore. And so to be able to improve our eyesight is so, so important. So let's talk about, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. And when you say you're a vision coach, what is that? What do you do with people? And then we'll go from there.
Awesome. So I'm a holistic vision coach, like you said. And what that means is I help people improve their eyesight naturally. So that means getting rid, not avoiding surgery, getting rid of your glasses and contacts. Or if you have an eye disease, stopping the progression or even reversing it, and ideally preventing an eye disease. And I got into all this because I got glasses at age 3. All babies are born farsighted, but my farsightedness didn't go away like it normally does. And I also had a squint, meaning my right eye was going in. So I got those glasses, and while they helped me see, I just hated them so much. Like you mentioned, I got bullied in school, and they were just dreadful. They were really handicapped because you want to play. And anyway, so I really struggled with them. I hated them. And then when I got a little older, I don't even know how anymore, but I found out about the natural vision improvement about age 17 or 18. And I practiced those techniques, and I saw immediate results. And that really got me hooked. And then I also started playing handball, couldn't wear my glasses. And I think in hindsight, the depth perception improved because, if you don't have depth perception, you get hit in the head by the ball. And so I was able to go without glasses in my 20s, which just made a huge difference for me. And then as I got into my 30s, into a really bad marriage, my vision declined again, and I found myself back in glasses. And really, really, like at that point, it wasn't so much that I was bullied, obviously, but my confidence, and I just hated how I looked older. Glasses age you on average like 5 to 10 years. And then I found that book again. I'm like, I don't have that book. I remember one night when everything was really bad, like my vision was really blurry after an event. And I found that book, and then I realized I just can't do it myself. I tried it myself, and I found a teacher, took private lessons, and I got rid of my glasses. And that was, let me think, how old am I now? That was like over 18 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, most people think that if your eyesight declines, that's just the way it is, and that it's a natural progression of aging that your eyesight's going to decline. Now, I know that you mentioned about a gentleman who is, I think, in his 90s.
He's 100 years old.
He's 100 years old.
Yes.
And he has 20/20 vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. It's funny because I've noticed that my eyesight has actually improved marginally, but it's improved because I think what you talked about, when you said you went through this bad marriage and your eyesight got blurry, when we talk about vision, and I said in the beginning, it's not necessarily about your business vision and or your career or whatever your vision for your life is, but there is a correlation to that. So can you talk a little bit about that correlation between the emotions, what's going on in your life, and how that translates to your vision?
Yeah, so most of us in traditional eye care especially really focuses on the eyeball, right? They look at the eyeball as if it's this thing that's not attached to you or your brain, when in reality, 90% of our vision happens in the brain, particularly in the visual cortex in the back of your head. And anything happening in your mind and your body affects your eyesight. So like you just touched on, the emotional aspect is a huge factor, especially when I have clients that have suddenly got nearsighted in childhood. Because like I mentioned, all babies are born farsighted, and it usually takes until age 15 to be completely, like the whole visual system to be completely built, and hand eye coordination, all of that. And when suddenly there's a child that's 5, 6, 7 years old, or even in their teenage years, suddenly becomes nearsighted, there's usually some kind of traumatic event. And that could have been, like me, I was bullied, but you're basically in this, your nervous system decides that your world out there is not safe. So you kind of create this safe bubble, this cocoon around you. You literally don't want to see the scary stuff out there. So and that's basically that starts in the brain, but then the brain triggers the fight or flight mode. Many of you have heard of that, and that creates all kinds of reactions in the body. It makes the breathing more chest heavy, which is stress breathing. It dilates your pupils and lots of other factors. And if this is not resolved, so usually with children, the teacher notices, oh, so and so cannot see the blackboard, tells the parents go to an eye doctor, and then they get fitted with glasses. When in reality, that's called pseudomyopia. It's not actually, like, the eyeball isn't too long yet, which it is in true myopia or nearsightedness. So they get glasses, and then those glasses actually manifest the elongated eyeball. That's when it actually happens. And there was lots of animal experiments done that showed that correlation of glasses and your eyeball actually changing shape.
Wow. So what I'm hearing in that is that as you wear glasses, like especially when you're a child, that it will actually alter. So you don't want to alter it through using
No.
glasses so much, but look at ways that you can do it and recognizing what the problem is. Funny that I used to squint all the time. And I find I do it less and less now, but I've got these ridges and my family, my ex-husband they always used to say, you need glasses, you need glasses, you need glasses, you need glasses. And what's interesting is I said, I've always wanted to see further. It doesn't matter how far I see, I always want to see further. And so I would squint to try to see further. And I understand that actually doesn't work that way, right? But that's the natural inclination. And when I think about that, and I think about my life and some of the things that I've been through, that makes sense, because there were points in my life where I couldn't see the future clearly, because what I thought was where the direction I was going was not the direction that I ended up going, right? You took a little detour here and there. And so it's really, really fascinating when you think of that correlation. And it would have been easy for me to get glasses, and actually when I went to the optometrist back when I was in my late teens, when I went to go get my license, and then they said, oh, you need to go see an optometrist because one eye was different than the other, or whatever. And he said, if you get glasses, your eyesight will deteriorate. And he says, it's not bad enough that you need, it's slightly off, but it's like 20/25 together, 20/50, 20/40, and then 20/25 together. So he's like, it's not that it's to the point where you actually need glasses. So he actually recommended against it, which I'm
Wow,
really
that's
grateful.
very
Yeah.
rare. You're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it would have been very easy for me to get glasses, and that's what most people do. And so they overcompensate for it. So how can you improve your eyesight naturally? Like, what are some of the things that you can do to be able to resolve that? Like, if it happens and you're a child, or even as an adult, and or as you age, how do you do
Okay,
that?
you brought up something really good. You said you were squinting.
Mm-hmm.
So all bad eyesight or all vision problems are caused by a strain. And squinting is one of many strains. It could be staring. It could be a mental kind of a mental strain where I noticed, for instance, sometimes you might see that when you do something fun, your vision is better than when you do something you hate. So there's a mental strain because it starts in the brain. Mental strain contributes to eye strain, and if you are not relaxed in your mind, your vision will also not be perfect. So there's a correlation of memory, what we've seen, of imagination, from the brain to the eyes. So it's really all connected. Our eyes are not cameras, really. It's not like the retina doesn't know a table from a chair. Everything happens in your brain. So the key to good eyesight and reversing vision problems is to release that strain. And again, that could be physical strain in your neck. The neck is connected, the C2 vertebrae nerves that is connected to the optic nerve, to the fascia. So any tension in the upper body especially is connected to poor vision. So the other thing is sunlight. That's a huge important factor. We have been told that the sunlight is really bad for us and it's scary and we should always put sunglasses on, when in fact your cone cells, without getting into too much anatomy, you have two cells in the retina. The cone cells are the ones that produce clarity and sharp vision and color vision, and they're focused in the center of your eye where you have your clear vision, right? And the other cells, the rod cells, are the peripheral vision cells. They work at night. They don't produce color vision. That's why we cannot see color at night. And so differentiating between those two, so the cone cells need light to work. And then actually need sunlight is the best light because it has the full spectrum. It's really healthy actually for the eyes to get sunlight exposure. So there's always exceptions. There's certain eye diseases, there's extreme conditions like skiing on a glacier. I'm talking about on normal daily life and not taking any drugs that inhibit your pupil reaction, because our pupils are built in sunglasses. They get really small when it's bright, and when it's dark, they open up. And so yeah, sunlight is one of the things you can do to help improve your vision. And then find out the strain. So I always recommend to somebody who's starting, when your vision is best and when it's worst. And if you wear glasses all the time or contacts, maybe don't put them in right away or put your glasses on, and just notice, is it better in the morning, in the evening, depending on the task you're doing? How's your emotional state? Are you relaxed? Are you stressed? And once you find those patterns, then you can figure out what is the type of strain that you're using. And you mentioned, I'm sorry, I have something in my throat. You mentioned the squinting, and that's a very common one that we use because we're creating a pinhole effect with that, right? We're creating kind of a smaller vision tool. And there's actually something, I think I have them here in my drawer. No, I don't, sorry. But there's something called pinhole glasses that have little holes in them. They're black and they have little holes, and they produce the same clarity that glasses can to a certain degree. But because it does the job, it bundles the light rays for you, right? But squinting is a strain, and it will make your vision worse in the long term. So learning to relax body and mind, both, is really important to see well.
So you talk about sunglasses, which is interesting because I've heard that, and you have blue eyes. I've heard that blue eyes have a harder time in the sun than people that have brown eyes. For some reason, the way it receives the light into the eyes. And so most people think of sunglasses as protecting their eyes. And when they go out and they're like, "Ooh, it's too bright." So what you're saying is actually to just allow your eyes to adjust to the brightness. Is that what you're saying?
So
like, how do you, if somebody's wanting to eliminate their sunglasses and they're like, "Yeah, but it's really bright out." So how do I compensate for that naturally then?
Okay, and I was exactly that way. I live in Los Angeles, and even on overcast days, I was super light sensitive, and I put sunglasses on basically all the time. So first of all, before you start, you need to reduce your light sensitivity. Of course, you can't just go, oh, it's especially if you live in Southern California like we do, you can't just go, oh, it's okay, I just do this, because then you're straining. So you start by doing a practice called sunning with closed eyes, and ideally in the morning or evening sun when it's not so bright. You close your eyes, you inhale deeply, and then you turn your head to the side. And then you inhale, you come back to center, and you go. So you go side to side. And what this does, even though for the closed eyelids, you get a lot of light, and the pupil, you will actually have a little bit of a pupil reaction behind the closed eyelids, because when I go here, the sun, I'm assuming the sun is right straight in front of me. That eye is now in the shade, and the pupils will open up just a hair, and then they close again as you go through center. So that's a great practice, sunning, to reduce light sensitivity. The other thing I recommend is wearing a hat. Usually, most of the time, you wear a hat and you just, it's like the angle of the sun. That helps a lot of people. And or go use weaker, like really very lightly tinted sunglasses initially. So that's a way you can kind of slowly get used to that. And then what else would I recommend? There's actually a correlation of light sensitivity to vision problems. So if you notice, if you have one eye that's more challenged than the other with a higher prescription, just do this, you know, when you're out, and see if that eye has a more strong reaction to the sunlight. So yeah, it's about reducing it slowly. I definitely want to say, if you have certain eye diseases and inhibited pupil reaction, definitely consult with your eye doctor or your doctor. So there is a macular degeneration, for instance, is, they always say no sunning and no sunlight, and same with cataracts, but especially the sunning practice with closed eyes is really, really good for you. So I recommend that anybody can do that. And if you're super, super, super light sensitive, you can start with a sun, with a back to the sun, right? So you do it with a back to the sun.
Got it. So what about somebody that has glasses? They've been wearing their glasses for, I don't know, 20 years, let's say. So would you be able to help them? And then what would they do to start off? Yeah, that process.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have many clients in both my online course and in my private practice that have worn glasses for sometimes 40 or 50 years. So the way we start is to, first of all, notice when you're straining, kind of find that pattern. And I teach good vision habits, or let me say, how do I explain this best? So our vision, I mentioned central vision earlier. I mentioned the cone cells. We have a very, very tiny area of perfect clarity. So when you look at any letter, notice how everything else around it is not as clear as it doesn't have to be a letter, but usually letters are really good feedback tool, right? Notice how everything else is not as clear. So our vision is teeny tiny sharp point in the middle, then we have a near periphery, a middle periphery, and an outer periphery. So we have this feeling of we seeing this huge picture, which we do, but only a teeny tiny, it's probably the size of a teeny pinhead that we see absolutely perfectly clear. And so when I have a client, or in my online course, I teach to notice that effect. And most people get it right away. Some people don't get it. So if you're if you see, like, let's say you have a word and you see the first letter better, when you look at the last letter, you're using part of your retina that cannot produce clarity. So this is a very important concept. And sometimes we have to demonstrate that doing it the bad way, to notice how, oh, that causes me strain or headaches, to realize what the good way is, right, the relaxed way. So it's really about teaching new habits. Blinking, for instance, right? A simple thing. Blinking is super important for good vision. It prevents staring. It lubricates your cornea, which doesn't have any blood supply. And so many people have dry eyes, and then they don't blink, especially at the computer. We tend to sit there and just kind of don't focus on that, focus too much, and then we don't blink. So that's another habit. And then then depending on the challenge they have, we start with the basics. It's always the relaxation. The relaxation is the foundation of everything. And for some people, that's more the physical relaxation. They have a lot of tension in their head, neck, and shoulders. So I work with little myofascial self-massage therapy balls to help people. So you don't have to go to a massage therapist all the time, right? It's super important to have a tool that you can use every day to release tension. And for some people, it's more the mental strain. And usually it's a combination of both, right? It's not necessarily, because the mental strain creates stress and tension in the body. So it depends, but some people are not ready to address the mental strain right away, and the physical relaxation is something that's easier to see the difference, right? To experience the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we, depending on the vision challenge, I have clients that have binocular problems, meaning I have a squint or strabismus, maybe no depth perception, or astigmatism. So it depends on the exact challenge, but the underlying foundational principles of good vision are always the same. So that's where I start.
Awesome. And you mentioned about your online course. So tell us a little bit about some of the things. You have online courses, you have private coaching that you do. I know that you have a free gift that you wanted to give to our listeners. Maybe this is a great opportunity for you to talk about that.
Yes, I have exactly. Speaking of the habits, I have a gift. It's the 10 habits of healthy and happy eyes. And that you can get when you go to my website, naturallyclearvision.com/10 habits, and 10 as a 1 and a 0 habits. Naturallyclearvision.com/10 habits. And you can download that. And that has a lot of information already. If you follow those principles, you should see improvements.
Excellent.
And the online course, okay, sorry. Go
yes.
ahead.
I was going to say, we'll make sure that link is also in the show notes as well. So people can access it there. Your online course. Yes. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I have an online course. It's a 12-module course that runs over 4 months. And I'm currently working on a smaller course, on a little introductory course that's easier to do, especially if you don't have glasses yet. Maybe you start wearing reading glasses and you just want to do something preventative, or if you just want to kind of get your feet wet and explore this and try this out. So I'm working on that. That will be released next year. And in my private practice, I also work like we just do this right now. So I work with clients on Zoom. And of course, in my practice in Los Angeles, in person also.
Fantastic. Now, I alluded to it in the beginning, but I want to circle back to that in terms of the scope and the statistics, which I think you mentioned about kids in China, and they're in Asia. I think it's not just China, but it's Asia overall. And if you can talk about some of those statistics, and then what your vision is, and what you see as the future of your practice and how you want to impact vision overall.
Yeah, so there is a huge myopia crisis. Again, myopia is nearsightedness. That means that you cannot see the distance clearly. You can see the near point, but the distance is blurry. And in Southeast Asia, the rough numbers are in the 70s, there was about 25% nearsightedness. And some countries there, it really varies. It's up to 95% of children are nearsighted now. I mean, and that's not genetics.
Wow.
It's definitely lifestyle. And there's research, coming back to the sunlight quickly, there's been studies done, and they noticed that children that play 2 or more hours outside, and it doesn't even have to be sunny, just daylight, have a way lower rate of nearsightedness than the children that don't. And obviously spending time on devices and having your eyes locked at the near point. Our eyes are not meant to be locked into any distance for a long amount of time. Our eyes are meant to move and look around. And the peripheral vision is usually very poor. Most people have such tunnel vision, especially when you wear glasses. So, and then in the United States, we also have about 45% of nearsightedness now, up from 25% in the 70s. So lifestyle, it's definitely showing that lifestyle has a huge correlation to the vision. And it's, a lot of times the doctors say, oh, it's genetics. And also what I can't stand is age-related, right? Oh, you have a cataract, you're 60. Yeah, that's normal. It's age-related. It's really lifestyle-related. Very few vision problems are actually congenital or hereditary. Most of it is definitely lifestyle-related. And what else did you ask me now? I forgot the second part.
Your vision. Yeah, I asked you multiple questions. That's not fair.
By the way, so with what I mentioned about the central clarity, right? So we cannot, multitasking is also one of those things. We can jump in our mind from one task quickly to the next. We cannot have several focal points or several things at the same time going on. I mean, if you wash dishes and you talk on the phone, that's different because it's different tasks. But Astigmatism is actually related to multitasking because you try to have too many balls in the air, so to speak.
Right.
So my vision is that the whole world knows that this is an option, that you can improve your eyesight naturally, that when you have your first vision problems, that your doctor gives you, okay, you can do this, or you can get glasses, contacts. So they give you options, so that this is, because not everybody is going to be willing to do this. And one question I usually get, and maybe I can throw that in there, people are like, how long does it take, and how much time per hour each day? So depending on, if you're just starting to have vision problems, it's way easier than if you had glasses for 40, 50 years. But it's like any habit change, any lifestyle change, you have to commit to it and practice the techniques. But for instance, I don't use the technique. I use them 24 hours a day or whenever I'm looking. So the practices are really meant to teach you how to see naturally, easily, effortlessly, right? So it's not that you have to do this for the rest of your life. It's more like a maintenance, right? It's maintenance.
Yeah.
So
You're creating new habits.
You're creating new habits. And of course that takes some commitment. And when people go to the eye doctor, some people might not want that. They're just like, oh, I actually like glasses, So, but that people know that this is an option, because 100 years after Dr. Bates wrote his groundbreaking book, Perfect Eyesight Without Glasses, that was in 1920. He was an ophthalmologist in New York, and that's all the natural vision improvement is based on the Bates method. And 100 years later, it's still like, I would say, out of 100 people I talked to, maybe one or two have heard about this, right? And to me, this is crazy. It's crazy that we don't know about this option. Yeah, that said, I'm not saying that all surgeries or everything else is bad. A lot of times those are the only options to save your eyesight. But yeah, LASIK is definitely something I don't recommend. Your vision changes over the lifetime. And even if you get LASIK, I just want to throw that in there. I hope that's okay. So LASIK often leave patients with dry eyes, so that they have to take eye drops and halos around night, which really affects your night driving. And pretty much everybody, by at least, I think the longest I've ever heard that they lasted was 12 years, because somebody got it really young. But usually after 10 years, you're back in glasses. So it's not the quick fix. They try to tell you what it is.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you said that, because as you were talking, I was like, oh, I wanted to ask you about LASIK, because I know lots and lots of people are doing LASIK now, and they're like, you can just improve your eyesight perfectly, and have perfect eyesight. And it's just, it's easy. It sounds, but like you said, it only lasts a certain amount of time if you're lucky. So,
but that
yeah,
said,
I don't know
I do
personally. I don't want anybody poking around my eyes, frankly.
But that said, I do have clients. I have lots of clients I work with that had LASIK, and some of them told me they regretted it right away because of the side effects. But yeah, even if you had LASIK, I just want you to know that you can, and you're back in glasses, I know that you can, just know that you can improve your vision, so you're not doomed. You can still do something about it. And I had one private client who had to take those eye drops 3 times a day. She's completely, just after we worked together maybe 3 months, not even, and she's completely off her eye drops, and her dry eyes are history. So it's not, when you learn those good techniques, and by the way, blinking is one of them, the good habits, then you can definitely wean yourself off those expensive eye drops that have side effects too. Yeah.
Awesome. That is great. Well, I think that what you're doing is amazing. And like you said, so few people are aware of it. And even we're talking almost just shy of 100 years later, and people are not aware of the fact that they can do this. And I apologize for the noise in the background. Somebody's drilling or doing something, and I don't know what that is, but it is what it is. But I would encourage our listeners to go get a copy of Claudia's free gift, The 10 Habits for Healthy, Happy Eyes. And we'll make sure the link is in the show notes to that. Also, Claudia's website and social media platforms. Now, the one thing is you mentioned about with the free gift is when they get the 10 habits, they'll also have an opportunity to book a session with you, and then they can find out about local events that you have coming up. I know you have something coming up in January of 2020. Oh, you're going to have so much fun this next year. 2020 vision.
Trust me. Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, definitely. So two colleagues of mine have working on we did a documentary. I was one of the teachers interviewed called Vision 2020. We have a GoFundMe page. Maybe I can give you that too. So if
Go for
anybody
it. Yeah.
wants to help spread the knowledge about this, because it's not just Dr. Bates' book that has its 100th anniversary, but obviously, yes, 2020 is the year of vision, really. And I just want to say too, 2020 is not, is visual acuity. That's not the only aspect of good vision. There's definitely, this is important, but your color vision, your night vision, your depth perception, your peripheral vision, there's lots of factors that go into your mental vision, your life vision, like you touched on earlier, your perspective on life, really all has to do with your eyesight. So visual acuity is one tiny aspect. Of course, it's important. But yeah, next year is going to be a big deal. And the session is complimentary. So I'm offering anybody that clicks on that link and downloads my habits guide. On the thank you page, you get a calendar where you can book a 30-minute free session with me. And we can go over your particular challenges, your goals, and I can also advise you if you can improve what you can do, and offer some strategies for you to improve. And what else did I want to say? Now I forgot my train of thought.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
great. We'll make sure that's all in the show notes as well.
Oh,
And
I come to my
yes.
mind.
Hmm.
So I also run free challenges 2 times a year, not 5 times. So 5-day challenges. So last time I did the correct computer eye strain 5-day challenge, which was a huge success. I did one Ditch Your Readers challenge, and I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. And I'm probably going to start running it end of January next year. But when you download my free gift, you get on my email list, and I don't send a lot of emails, I promise. I'm not one of those people that sends 2 emails a day. If I send 1 a week, that's probably a lot. But then you find out about those challenges, and there's an invitation into my Facebook group where I run them. So just know that don't have to worry about clicking on everything. When you get the free gift, you definitely get hooked up with all my offerings.
I love that.
Lots of free things I do too.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that because you're really committed to giving people the information that they can go and use and do and apply it on their own, which is really, really powerful. So I encourage our listeners to find out what your options are. I have always resisted, as I said, even in the beginning about getting glasses, everybody telling me, you're squinting, you need glasses. And I've always resisted. I don't know. There was always something in my mind that said, I don't really need them. There's something else going on. And Claudia is, the perfect person to teach you how to, to resolve that. So you don't need glasses either. I don't have any intention. You're not going to see glasses here on this face for a while.
I love that,
God
Nicole.
willing.
But
Yeah.
also know when you catch yourself straining a lot that, that's, so avoiding them by straining and squinting is definitely not the way to go. So if you do catch yourself doing a lot of straining and things are blurry and you do that, then definitely connect with me, because that will actually not help you. So eventually you will end up in glasses if you don't know how to see effortlessly and relax in a natural
Oh, I have
way.
one more question for you,
Yeah,
actually.
of
Yes.
course.
Computer screen font size. What is the best font size? Smaller or larger? Some people just like make it so big.
That's
my
a
mother, I was like,
question.
I looked at her screen once and I was like, good Lord, you'd
That
have to
is a
like back up.
great question. And it's not an easy question to answer. So basically, remember how I talked about the center clarity. So smaller print encourages you to move your eyes more, which is really important for good vision, and also move your head along, by the way. So if you just move your eyes all the time, you get astigmatism. But however, if you're squinting and if it's hard for you to see that, right, then making the text bigger is the best idea. And when I start working with people, I always encourage them to get first of all, we always have to get into weaker glasses. I didn't mention that earlier. The only way you can get improvement is get out of your full, I haven't found a better metaphor, but like a wheelchair of your full prescription. So you want to move on to crutches. But making the conditions ideal, right? So that if you can go without glasses, let's say you have a -1 or -1.5 or something, or +1 or +1.5, you can probably do the computer, you can do lots of things without glasses. And in that case, I would make the font a little bigger increase the brightness, get a good reading lamp. Like I have this this is Light. It's a company. They make full spectrum lights that are really good for working. So improve the conditions so that you have ideal conditions. However, the goal would be to make the text smaller. So if you make the text big on your phone, remember that you can only see, notice that you can only see one letter clearly, because the bigger the text, the more likely you are to try to see that whole word clear at once, which is anatomically not possible. And the smaller the text, you're automatically moving your eyes more. So find that sweet spot where you can see it clearly without glasses or without straining, or with, reduced lenses. And that's a sweet spot, what I recommend. Yeah.
Awesome.
And also one more thing for computer. Can I throw that in?
Go for it. Yeah.
So, you've all heard of blue light, and the sun has blue light, but it has a full spectrum. And the macula is actually covered with a yellow plant pigment called lutein and zeaxanthin that absorbs up to 60% of the sunlight if you have a healthy macula, a healthy eye. However, computers and screens have a huge spike of blue, some green, and almost no red. And an easy way to reduce that blue light, I don't want to wear those light blocking glasses. I honestly don't like to have any glasses on my face, even the blue blocking glasses. You can turn on, I don't know what it's called on the PC, but on the Mac, it's called night shift mode. I think it's the same on the PC. And I have it turned on 24 hours. There's no button for 24 hours, but I cheated. I put 4 a.m. to 3:59 a.m. So there's 1 minute at night. And do that on your phone. Make sure you turn that on your phone. And you can decide how warm you want the screen to be. So unless you do color correction, you're a retoucher or somebody who works in the, then you want to have accurate colors. It's something you can do to protect your eyes from too much.
So you're toning it down is basically what you're doing?
Well, you're making it more warm. So it becomes more yellow. So now mine is on, I'm so used to that. So, and you have a slider, at least on the Mac, you have a slider on the night shift mode. So you can determine, I have mine basically almost all the way to the warmest level, but you can determine how warm you want to make it. But that really helps protect from blue light. That's like an easy thing without having to buy glasses or wearing, especially if you already wear glasses, you can't wear blue blocking glasses on top of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. My goodness, you're such a wealth of knowledge. This is just like a little taste of what you can learn from Claudia. So I would go and check out her 10 habits so that you can start improving your eyesight. Find out about her courses, find out about the things that she's got going on. She's got a Facebook group. We'll make sure all these links are in the show notes so you can find out how to improve your vision. And also for those of you that are parents, how can you help your children to start them young in understanding how to develop these habits so that they can have them for a lifetime, have healthy, clear, natural vision for a lifetime? How awesome would that be? So I encourage you that. Leaders of transformation, take action. Do that today. Don't put it off, because then it's like Claudia said, she read this book and then she started using it and then she put the book away and then years later took it, and found the book and started again. You know what? Take action today so that you can have healthier vision tomorrow. So I encourage you to that. We look forward to hearing your stories. You can find us on social media. You can, of course, go to leaderstransformation.com. This episode and all the other episodes, 290 plus episodes that we've already done, are all going to be on the website for you as well. And we'd love to hear your stories and how you're making an impact in the world. So reach out to us and let us know what you're doing. So we encourage you to do that. We appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.